let's talk about the defense in depth model involved in Azure. Now, first off, defense in depth is not something Microsoft came up with. This is an old cybersecurity term, and it essentially just means that when it comes to securing something, you surround it in as many layers of security as you possibly can. Okay, and so as you can see here, I have right in my core here, we have the cloud services and virtual machines. So you're talking about all the stuff that is involved, my virtualization technologies, virtual servers, web apps, whatever they may be. And of course, I want to make sure that all of that is safe and secure. And so one of the things I would do is making sure everything is updated. If I'm in control of the virtual machines myself, I'm in charge of keeping them updated. Now, if you're doing something like platform as a service and you're using like web apps and stuff like that that's being hosted by Microsoft, they'll make sure that your the virtual machines that are hosting that is updated. But as far as my code and all of that goes, if I'm hiring developers to do web apps for me, I need to make sure that that code is continually updated with the latest and greatest stuff. If I am in charge of any software, I got to make sure that stuff is updated with the latest and greatest patches and hot fixes and all that fun stuff. Now, the other thing would be the first layer surrounding that you see here would be a virtual machine firewall. Microsoft Azure has what is known as the Azure Firewall. The Azure Firewall is something that can be associated with your various subnets in your environment, your virtual subnets, and can be used for protecting traffic flowing in and out, just like a traditional firewall would in an on-premise environment. Next up, you've got network security groups and access control lists. What that is, that's IP filtering. IP filters, NSGs, network security groups. You can have, essentially, you can allow input, output into subnets and your virtual NICs and all that. Now, keep in mind, the Azure Firewall should be very adequate for handling the throughput, but it doesn't hurt to have an additional layer of protection, to have IP-based filtering involved, as well as permissions involved on who and what is allowed to access stuff. If this is a web service and you're going to allow people to get there anonymously, that's one thing. But what if this is a server, like a database server, and you have people that need to be able to interact with it and they have to be authenticated to interact with it? Well, that's when you have permissions, access control list, and what's called role-based access control, RBAC, okay? From there, you have the virtual network itself, and the virtual network itself that everything is communicating with is also isolated and protected. And so this gets into the Azure network in which your virtual networks sit on. So the actual Azure network itself that is ran by Microsoft, they have various levels of security on that as well. In fact, they don't really publish all that to us. They just basically promise that they've got layer upon layer of security at their own facilities. So not only do we have certain things that we have control over, they're also managing and monitoring the security for their networks as well, which of course adds up to something that's very important. We have distributed denial of service protection. Now, Microsoft provides that right out of the gates. They provide a standard plan or a basic plan for that, but you can go up to a higher plan to support denial of service protection, which I'm not really getting into that a great deal right now, but that gets into things like flooding, where hackers could attempt to flood your virtual machines or something with so much traffic. Like if you had some web apps or something that were being hosted, web services that are being hosted, and hackers chose to attack you, Azure is providing some protection for that, and they actually have various plans. You could go to a higher plan to get even more of that. So this is the idea behind defense in depth, all right? And this is the model. They use this model for the government networks as well, but it also works in this is the same model when it comes to just Azure in general, all these different layers of protection. Ultimately, the biggest thing to take away from this is that defense in depth is all about layers of protection surrounding yourself surrounding your resources, your data, your resources with as many layers of protection as you possibly can. Hey, this is John Christopher. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I want you to know that I'm trying really hard to grow this channel, so I hope you'll give me a like and a subscribe. Also, if you'll check the description in this video, I've got a link for you that can show you how you can get access to all my different courses. I have lots of different Microsoft certification courses that'll help you pass your exam. All right, thanks a lot for watching the video, and I hope to see you again.